Let me tell you a story about one of the most impactful musical lessons I ever got. It really changed my vision of how music manifests on really any instrument. My junior year of college, I was taking an independent study with my mentor at the time. So it was just a one-on-one, just exploring different, chord voicings, harmonies, forms, and whatnot. He was showing me these bossa nova voicings that he knew and was just kind of giving me more chordal vocabulary to draw from. And there was one moment that was hilariously embarrassing, but also the most pivotal call out I ever had. So we were playing some chord voicings that I was familiar with, and then he played a particular voicing. It might have been, something real simple, like playing a dominant chord and then with a sharp 5 or something like that. So he told me, here's this voicing that you can do instead on some song. And he told me just to move the 5th up a half step. Now, mind you, I've been playing piano and saxophone, guitar, bass, a bunch of instruments at that time for a while. I was classically trained, so I knew what intervals were. And I knew their role and not quite how pivotal they were. I thought I was underestimating the importance of knowing your intervals. So when he asked me to all you got to do to get this voicing, just sharp your 5. It's open to sharp my 5. And I was like, just paused. And I remember it being an awkward silence for me. It probably lasted maybe 3 seconds, but it felt really long because I knew what he was asking, but I couldn't connect the dots on the guitar. On the piano, yes. But he essentially pointed out one of my biggest weaknesses on the guitar at that moment. And he asked me, "Hey Tonga, do you know your intervals on the guitar?" And it occurred to me, I did not. I knew chord shapes. I knew some scale shapes. I knew I could figure it out, but it wasn't second nature at that point. And that blew my mind because, again, I understood the concept. I could apply it on other instruments for sure, but I hadn't done it for guitar for whatever reason. Luckily for me, great mentor. Shout out to Professor Allen, Wheat College. He just moved on and was like, "Oh, okay, well, you don't know, just here, let me show you." And then we just went over it. And that whole time I was just kind of sitting there excited to be oh my gosh, I didn't know this, but also embarrassed that I didn't connect those simple dots of knowledge of, what are intervals and where do they sit in the chord that I was playing? Because the concept he was really just going over that day that has affected my career and transformed me into an incredibly more confident and knowledgeable player was understanding how your chords are constructed. So just like most guitarists tend to do, we pick up the guitar and then our buddies tend to just show us chord shapes and be hey, this is G major 7 or just a bar chord, and this is a major bar chord or minor bar chord, which is great because that information is delivered very succinctly and you can get into playing very quickly. Once you get those chords down, it's cool, I can immediately play and it's very accessible. The guitar is a very accessible instrument, but that's very surface level understanding. And that is both the best thing and a challenge of the guitar, is the fact that you can do a lot of music very quickly from the surface level. But if you just scratch the surface and get deeper into it, there's so much more to expand upon. So that moment in that independent study spotlighted what I didn't know on the guitar, and what, by addressing it after that, everything on guitar got immediately easier for me, because I realized that a lot of the chord voicings that are like really beautiful and complex and whatnot are honestly, and on all instruments really, but on guitar, the guitar taught me this the most. It's just one note away. So I was playing a dominant chord, just a regular old dominant, and he's like, yeah, just sharp the 5. I'm like, I had a 5th in that chord voicing, and he told me to just, oh, it's here, raise it up half a step, and then you get this really going from like an intermediate voicing or like late beginner voicing into a late intermediate or advanced chord voicing. I don't know how you want to put that, but it opened up the harmony and just the colors that came out by moving one note. But not only just moving one note, moving a particular note in a specific way in relation to the rest of the chord opened my playing into just to a lot more opportunities and potential to draw from when I'm writing, and honestly just straight up playing. So the key here, and that I've relearned this lesson, or it's become more and more apparent how deeply essential it is to know your intervals and how their relationships dictate everything when it comes to harmony. If you move one note, you get a completely different sound, or something that's close by, but it provides a different color. So the point here is, don't skimp out on the fundamentals. It's been at least 15 to 17 years since I've had that lesson, and it's still the number one thing I teach. And it's the number one thing that I go back to when I'm trying to understand some complex stuff or just some simple stuff. And from then on, it transformed my confidence specifically, because all of the complicated voicings now were just 1 or 2 notes being modified from something that I already knew. Once you realize that, you're no longer intimidated by anything anymore. Sure, it might take some time to figure out, but you have time. You have time to practice. You have time to like absorb that information. But to see something new, it's like, oh, okay, I know I can figure that out. That is worth its weight in gold. So with that being said, I do want to offer everybody that's watching this story, I have a free course that essentially covers 2 major scale positions on the guitar and the intervallic relationships within that major scale to form your fundamental chord voicings that you would use for jazz and a number of like jazz adjacent genres, so like neo soul and R&B and whatnot. So I want to offer that. It's free. You can take the link below to my course website and sign up, and it's about 50 minutes long. It has multiple sections that you can just take advantage of when you have the time. But if you get through that whole thing, I promise you, you will have a better understanding of your fretboard in a way that it will open up your playing and inspire more confidence in your playing and approaching maybe songs that you've always liked but never understood how to actually play them. Or it might bring, some new light on songs you do already play, but can open up your understanding even deeper. Also share in the comments any story you have had in your own musical career that really kind of just launched you into what you are as a musician today. Thanks again. Hope to see you next time.